the idea, it's like I said, it's a beautiful picture, but it's very big and there's a lot happening, so I want to chunk it. And like I said, that part with the misty tree is the most interesting with the car or truck on this side. So the bridge, I would say, if this is the center of the picture, like this, the bridge, I would like to put the bridge just under the center, like this. So this will be the line of the bridge, like that. Okay, and water's down here. And we've got the big tree here like this. Comes to about there, and then I've got the truck somewhere here. I don't want to draw it in too much detail yet. I just want to put it in place, maybe a bit further back. When we draw something in a lot of detail, we invest in it, and then it becomes very difficult to change it or to decide, oh, I don't want it anymore, or something like that. So don't be too careful with your drawing. We're just putting marks so that we know where we want things. There's a bit of distant stuff back there that reflects into the water as well, and this one reflects closer this way. Okay, so that's basically it. That's all the details that I need for this picture. And I will, of course, as I paint it, I will keep looking at the photograph to make sure that I'm not missing any important details. But in terms of colors, like I said, lemon yellow, alizarin crimson, and phthalo blue. And we're going to start with washes of lemon and crimson, and then a very light wash of blue over that, followed by another wash. I'll work it through. I'll show you how, one step at a time. Okay. I'm going to start by picking up some water in a basin like this, just enough so that I can have a nice wash and not worry about how much water I have. And I'm picking up the lemon yellow. It turned green, so let me get rid of it. Sorry about that. My brush had a bit of paint still. Okay, let's try this again. There, I got my lemon yellow, and I'm going to go ahead and do a wash from top to bottom with lemon yellow. That's actually that's too strong a color. I'm going to add a bit of water to it. The color is really too strong, I think. Let's see. Okay, I just want a hint of the yellow in this picture, so this is a much better concentration. There, very light. Okay. First wash. We're going to do a lot of washes on this one to begin with. That's how you create the mood on something like this, is with lots of washes.
Super light.
Yes, very light. It's just a hint of color, just a little hint of color. Okay, and just be careful when you're doing that. You know, as the water comes down, it accumulates at the bottom here. Make sure that you remove it so it doesn't seep back and destroy the painting. So we're done with the yellow. Let's pick up some more water. Clean the brush. Pick up some more water, and let's pick up alizarin crimson now. And again, very, very light. We don't want it to become overwhelming. But what is going to happen is I'm going to start with a light, and then I'm going to add more, because in the middle of the picture, there's more of that red that shows. So we start light, we add a bit more, and then we continue. Okay. So we'll start up here. And then I'm going to start adding to my mix just a bit more. So there's a big bead that's going to take care of things, and it's going to make sure that I don't overwhelm the picture. But in here I'm going to add a bit more red, like this. And then I'm going to just add water to my brush under here. Every time I stroke, I'm adding a bit of water and removing excess water. And it reduces the amount of red. So essentially what's happening is we're going from yellow to a bit of red, and then reducing the red all the way down. At the end, it's almost yellow again. Okay. So again, very much a hint right now. It's nothing more than a hint. And I might go back and put some more red, but for now, let's let it dry and see what happens. I'm looking at this picture and I like what I see. I really don't think I need to do any more washes of these two colors. I think that's enough. Anything more would be overpowering. It's still a blue picture, more or less. So what I'm going to do is I have my pink and I have my yellow. I still have those. I'm just going to add them to each other because I need to use this container for something else. And this, we're going to need these anyway in the future. So let's just keep them, clean this up. And I'm going to start a blue wash in 2 phases. So I'm just so you can see, I'm using 2 containers. One of them is going to be extremely light. Maybe if I can lift up a bit like this. Whoops. You'll be able to see the containers if I put them on top. Okay, so first one is very, very light. So I'm just going to add lots of water and just take a bit, just a touch of phthalo blue into it. Very little, really. I want it to just be a hint. Like, see how little? Maybe a bit more than that, but not more, not much more. Just this. Okay, just to be a hint of blue. I'm going to keep that here for a second. Hopefully it doesn't pour down. And then the second one, I'm going to actually make a more concentrated amount, but I'm going to use a different brush because I don't want this brush to have too much paint on it. So more like this concentration. And this is what I'm going to use for the clouds while the paint is wet. So I might have to use that, or I might have to use straight from the container. We'll see. But here it is. Those are the 2 mixtures, and I'm going to go ahead and begin working with the blue. Okay, so essentially what we have is we have a very faint blue wash over these pinks that just subdues them, the yellows and the pinks, just subdues them just enough without turning the yellow into green and without turning the pink into violet. So let's hope this actually happens, and it's going to happen. It's just the right amount of yellow, of blue that I had. So it's important that we work pretty fast here because we want the paper to be wet when we go in to put the clouds, okay, and other things. So you can see it's very light. It barely changed the color, really. It just gave it a hint of blue, but nothing more. It didn't really affect it. I'm looking at the top here again. I want to make sure that it's still wet. And then I'm going to take my brush, take away excess water from it. It has paint in it. And I'm going to go ahead and do my clouds. And the clouds are going to be fluffy, so they're going to expand their own way.
So that's with the darker mix?
Yes, that's with the darker mix. And they're going to expand their own way. I might have to adjust them a bit, but I don't want to do too much. I just want that feeling of space like this. Now it's starting to move this way down, and I don't want it to do that, so I'm going to just turn it sideways and let it move in the other direction, like this, which was more natural, because that's the way the clouds are moving, so it'll be fine if it does that. Okay, so I'll leave this to dry, and I'm going to do a few echoes of these clouds down here. And reduce as I move away. Okay, let's leave this to settle, and then we'll come back and work some more on it. Okay, I have to keep it this way, unfortunately, so that the water continues to move in this direction and not up and down. I don't want it to look like it's raining. So I do have a little problem with this picture. If you look at it with me.
Don't tell me now.
No, it's that if the tree that is supposed to come here is in mist, right? So it's going to be a bit foggy, and then the trees that are back there are not in mist, so they're going to be sharper. That's a problem, because this tree then will recede and these will move forward in the painting, and that's problematic. That doesn't work very well. So we have to reduce these as well as this. So we have to sort of fudge it in a way. What I want to do is I want to make these trees here darker and fuzzy, and those over here lighter and fuzzy, and so it's no longer what it looks like in the picture, but it's dictated by the way that paint is and paint works. So it goes down to about here. Let's go ahead and do that. And the first thing that I want to do is obviously, because it's supposed to be fuzzy, we're going to do a quick water wash over this area like this. And I usually just go all the way because it's better to have everything uniform that way. So just a quick wash. I'm just wetting the paper. It's not much happening there. And I'm just going to go ahead and start taking my paint and putting it here. And I'm using phthalo blue. Exclusively at this stage, and just feeding the paper here. I don't mind if there are a few holes that happen, but I want it to get much darker towards the middle right here. So all of this is extremely wet, right? Everything is very, very wet here, and I'm going ahead and bringing it down to about here, which is where the horizon is, or the water line is. And I'm going to go again and add more paint in the middle. I want this center part here to become very, very dark. Unfortunately, this area is drying now, so...
You're going over the top of the bridge, right?
Yes, going over the top of the bridge for sure. It's no big deal. We're going to revive the bridge. We're going to bring it back. So just across like this. Now over here it's dried, so I'm going to have to use... I'm just going to use water. I'm going to spray a bit of water on this side, just to keep it wet again, so that I can work it. And I don't want a heavy load on this side. I want a light load, so just doing... Oops. Oh man. I got too much water and I created a disaster. It's okay. I'll fix it. I can fix everything here. Okay, there we go. Reduced, fixed. This area here needs a bit more color, not too much, but a bit more, because it can't be too light. It has to register a difference. So we'll do it this way. Bring them down here, and there's water still, and there's more color. So I'm just going to let this shadow happen here. And then in here, I'm going to actually remove some by hand like this. And bring it all the way down. So all of this is very, very wet still, except for the areas where I lifted, and I want to lift again. I want to make sure that some areas are still very pink. I want those to be clearly showing. So that's that over here. This part I need more color. So I'll go back, pick up more color. Still wet, so I can go in and add
this part is when I usually think, oh, I really need.
Yeah. No, you haven't. It's good. This is all good. Okay, so down to here, and then the shadow of it is this way. So we'll bring it in here.
You notice below the line of trees there is like a lighter mid, and then the shadow.
Yep. So we come in and lift it like this. Okay? And I want this water here to be a bit bluish. Now, this part here is starting to get hard, so I'm just going to go in with just a bit of water to loosen it up like this, so it's not a hard edge. I don't want a hard edge. Not in the trees. Maybe later I'll find a couple of spots where I want hard edges and I'll put them, but I don't want it to be dictated by the water. As long as everything is wet, I can continue to play and add and reduce as much as I want. Once it dries, it's too late. Mind you, I did use a spray to bring it back to life, but it wasn't completely dry. If it was, even the spray wouldn't have worked. Okay, so let me turn it sideways again. This part, I think, can take a bit more color. So let me do that.
More color or darker? Because I feel that the trees are darker, like in a more.
Yes, so I'm adding a bit more color here to darken the middle of this tree. I just want to make sure that I'm not exceeding the amount of wetness that's on the paper with my brush, because then it's going to blow and create a mess. So I have to be extra careful when I do this. Okay, this is good enough. I'll leave it at that. And the shadow down here we can add. Even here there's that line. It's a lower line, but it's still a line. So let's do it. Let's create a line like that. I'm going to go ahead and use my hairdryer now, and there's a reason why I'm going to do it faster than usual. This part here, both parts actually, are still drying, but I don't want the color to be pushed to the edge and create cauliflower. So by drying it faster, I avoid that. And because it's still wet, the way I'm going to dry it is I'm going to lift my my hairdryer about 1.5 feet. I think like maybe like 45 centimeters up from the surface and start. There's good tape and there's bad tape, and on the edges we're using really good. This is Scotch tape, or you can use 3 or whatever it is. Good tape that's going to hold, and water is not going to seep under. This is a cheaper tape that you can get from the dollar store, and it pulls off very easily. So it doesn't hold very well. It's painter's tape, so that's what they use it for. They want it to be able to pull easier, so that's okay. And we'll just take a long piece like this, and let's go ahead and put it over where the bridge is supposed to be. So the bridge is here, and this is the edge above it, so let's do it that way. Okay, and lightly push it in, but push it in nice on the edge that we want it to be, so that again color doesn't seep under it. Okay, so that's the top. I want another sliver because I want the bottom also to be very sharp. So I'm going to take another piece and I'm going to do another line. Try not to make it too thick. There we go. Another line like this. Okay. Don't be stingy with your videotape, especially if it's cheap.
It has to be extra dry, isn't it?
Yes, it has to be completely, absolutely extra dry. Otherwise, you're going to destroy your painting if you put tape like this on wet paint. Okay, there it is. So that's the second line right there, and I'm pressing on the top in this case and the bottom of this one. Okay, because that's where I will put color. And I'm going to go ahead and do it in. I'm going to try to do it in one swoop. I don't want to do layering in this because it will look bad. But I need very dark blue, so I'm going to get a really rich concentration of this blue on my brush. And I'm going to go ahead and do the line in one stretch. I couldn't. I have to do it in more than one stretch. That's okay. Especially in the middle here. Okay. So, all done. Okay, now I think I can do this. Yeah, I can. These tapes really don't hold at all. So you can lift them. Just don't lift them up. Lift them like this, and you'll get a nice line right there. Look at that. You can't get a better line than this. What do you think, Peter? Good enough? Okay. Now while it's still wet, let's go ahead and do the other portions of it. And for that, I need a smaller brush so that I can have much more control over what I'm doing. And I'm going to use a sable brush so that I have more water and more ability to work longer. Okay, so I'm looking at where my verticals are, and because they're verticals and because nature has it so that we do horizontal lines much easier than verticals, I'm just going to turn this over like this so that I can actually have much more control. And I'm going to do my line. So this one I'm just going to take to the edge. There's one next to it. And this one here, I'm going to give it like an edge like this. Okay, so then the next column is here. And I just want to do this at the bottom. Let's do that with this one as well. And there's a little one next to it, like really close. Right here. And feed those bases and pull them again. It's one way to create shadows that are believable, is to do that. Feed these spots and pull them down. And create an interesting shadow. I'll fix it later. And again, this one has an edge feeding into the bridge over here. This and over here as well. And one more over here. If you're doing this at home, I started in the wrong spot. You should always start at the top and come down, because then your hand is not over wet paint.
I was about to ask you that.
Yeah.
Because usually mess up with my hand.
Yeah, so it's better to do it the other way. It's better to start at the top and come down. That was a mistake, but can't think of everything all the time, so you just have to live with it. But when I thought about it, I thought I'd tell you so that you don't do it yourselves. Okay, so that over here, another one. We'll just give it another one next to it, like this. And the last one, two more. Put this one here. And the other one is very close to it. And the last one there. Okay. Let's see if we can fix these. They're a bit tilted. They're a bit tilted. I can see them now that I turned it horizontal. They're a bit tilted. I'll fix them. Of course, you can also use tape for these if you want to. Okay. Since I still have some of that paint in my brush, and I have the thin brush out, I'm just going to do a few shadows like this on the water. Just a few, not too much. And I might actually reduce them, they're too sharp. And way to reduce them is working pretty fast. Just pick up water on your brush and just smudge them a bit so that they're not too sharp. Fingers always work better. Make sure that your finger's not too blue. Yeah. Okay. I need more shadows for these things. Maybe. Pretty sure I do. But what I want to do first is I'm going to take my liner, this little thing here, and create another line over the bridge. So there's the bridge, and you know, very well done. We're happy with it. But there's also the railing on the bridge. So I'm just going to lay this down and run it across. Oops. And if it runs out of color, it's okay. It creates that feeling of it's okay, the car is going to come here, so I'm not worried too much about it. And I'm going to do a couple of other lines with this liner that are going to come in handy. I need a pole here, another some in here as well. And the reflection. Now I didn't put the reflection of the river of the bridge, so let's do that. Just I'm wetting my brush, and I'm going to go ahead and put it. It's right under this line here, like this. Okay, so let's put another line. You can see there's details in front, and that creates depth for us. That allows us to see deeper into the painting. Now, I do need to work on these shadows a bit more. They're not exactly where they should be, or not where they should be, but how they should be. So I'm just gonna fix the bottom of these columns. Okay. And get some really thick paint on my brush and just fix the base of the columns. Let's do the edges even more. I forgot a few places. Let's still do them now. The car truck is actually painting a truck is much easier than painting a car, believe it or not, because you're just going to do a square. So if you want to watch this, we're going to do a square here, square rectangle, like that. And then you're going to do a little shape like this. And you're done. That's your truck. Put points of interest if you can in different places, so it shows a bit. But all in all, this little painting should be done now. My instinct is saying I just need to do a bit more ripples down here, but I want to make them so light that they really don't show a lot. So let's see what we can do with this. I like these liners, because they produce really nice lines for you, really nice thin linear lines like that. Do you have one, Claudia?
Yes, I have it.
Peter, you're the only one who doesn't. I'm sorry about that.
Sorry?
I said you're the only one that doesn't have one.
I know you keep promising me, but
I know, and I will. I'll be in VAM soon, so I can drop one off for you. Just keeping those ripples close to us, not further back, because I want sort of the mist to take over back. But right about here is fine, and it really it's more to cover the bottom of the shadows of the columns, because I don't want them to be too strong. I want them to sort of fade in. So again, using my finger to reduce and spread whatever is still wet, and I think I'm done with this. So really, the wash phase, the addition of the clouds first, and then the addition of the trees in wet and wet, and then finally the details, and that's really all there is to it. There. You see anything else we want to put in there?
oh, I'm way behind you, so you'd have to give me a.
Yeah, me too.
So just a bit of refining with color, and then we're gonna do some refining with a knife in a second. But first, let's put color and make sure that we can get really nice shapes, as good as we can. I mean, it's not going to be perfection, but that's okay. It's a painting. Okay, I think this is done. This phase is done. Okay, we stop. I put the ruler just under the bridge. So there's the bridge right there, and I'm just bringing the ruler just under, because I'm going to use an angle, right, for myself, for my hand, so that's going to push us further up on the bridge. I don't want to get into the middle of the bridge. I want to get at the bottom of it, like this. So I leave a bit of a gap, and that gap allows me to come in. And you can see I'm scraping at the bottom of the bridge with the ruler like this. Try to scrape, not cut. So turn your cutter flat against the shape, flat against the paper, and not the cutting side shouldn't be pointing in the direction that you're moving. Mine is pointing upwards. Okay, so that's one. And that looks pretty sharp.
Oh, that's good. That gives it some depth, eh?
Yeah, it does. It does. And it makes it a bit sharper that way. I'm just going to do another one up here and force the truck back behind the railing. So same situation. Just come in, and really this is the part that I really care about right here. So I can push. And these two people as well. When you're doing something like this, sometimes what happens is paper gets caught at the tip of the cutter. Just clean it up so that it doesn't bulk it up. But here it is. So really just very subtle, right? It is extremely subtle, but it's there. And then I'm going to use my cutter in certain spots to create a few ripples in the water. I don't want to use sandpaper with this. I do have a little piece here that I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with in a second, but mostly I want this coating to happen with a cutter like that down here. Okay. So again, creating depth, and that's useful like this for us. The base of these columns is ugly, so anything I can do to cover them is good. And this is not a bad way. Okay, so there we are. Now I'm just going to take my kneaded eraser, flatten it a bit. This is one that I use mostly for this purpose, which is to pick up the dust from the paper. So I just run it over the. You see, as soon as I run it over the lines, all the dust, the colored dust that tries to sink in there goes out, and we get much more light, much more showing. So we'll do that here as well in the water, and you can see it's much better now. Okay, last but not least, I have a little bit of sandpaper. It's not even sandpaper anymore. It's almost like leather. It feels. This is buffing sandpaper, and it's been used, so it's almost smooth. And there's sometimes I feel like doing it like this over certain spots, or even over the whole painting for this one, because remember when we talked about the fibers of the paper? They're like spaghetti, and when you wet them, they sort of they rise up a bit, they point upwards like this. So what I want to do with this is I'm not using it to sand. There's nothing to sand here. I'm just using it to remove any fiber that's still standing. So I'm just going very lightly on top here, and hopefully what that does is if I don't press, because if I press, what will happen is it'll start shining. So don't do that. Just run it very smoothly like this, and it should give you a nice effect. Just take away those lines. Okay, done. You can put your name on this. There's a nice balance between the tree and the weight here, and this this truck which acts as a lever with this. So there's a nice balance that way between these two. Shadows, yeah, I like it. Everything is good.
I like it.
Of course, there's always just a little more, right?
Oh God, here we go.
Always. I just want the base of these columns to have a bit of reflection on it, and also because they're not very well shaped, so I can use the cutter to shape them a bit better that way. I have to create distance between them.
I have issues with my verticals and horizontal.
With your what?
Verticals and horizontal lines.
Yes, I had a bit of that too. Fortunately, the tape helped. Not too much, it's just a little. Now I swear I'm done. If you find yourself needing to do a wash, but you've already used the cutter, go ahead and use a bone like this to press down the fibers. That will help, because it will make sure that paint does not settle in the fibers, and the fibers don't act as hoarders of the paint. Most paper today is sized all through, so it's not only sized at the surface, it's sized all the way down. So if we cover it like this, if we really force the fibers in, this will be just as good as clear paper. So there it is. Okay, now watch what I'm going to do. I actually have a mixture here of yellow and pink that I will use, but I'm going to start with just water. Do you want to watch this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start with just water in my brush, just water, and I'm going to do.
I don't see your. Sorry, yes. I don't see the.
So, just water, and I'm going to do it up until here, and I want to make sure that I have a nice bead. Okay, now this is all these colors that I used are staining colors, so they're not going to go away. Yeah. So I'm just going to go over the bead just a bit and start adding this color in here, like that.
Oh, that is good.
Okay, now if you haven't done your cutter yet, it's better, but be careful, because what happens is the bridge is heavy paint, so it might melt a bit if you do this.
Yeah.
So you have to be very, very light on your brush. For me, what it did is it dulled it down a bit, but it gave it a bit more of a warm color. But it dulled it. It made the painting a bit duller. That's okay. It's an example. I just want to show you what you can do. So all the whites that I had are gone because obviously color sits in the over them, so they're not going to be white anymore. There's you know, red and orange and stuff like that. I'm trying to remove that.
One question, because I don't remember the shadow of the bridge. Do you do it on dry or on wet?
On dry.
Right.
So you can do this. I wouldn't recommend it. You know, it's better to do the washes and look at them before you put everything else in. So when we did the washes, would have been great if we just let it dry and then did another wash. We can do. I've had paintings where I've done 21 washes, so it's not bad. It's just you don't want to do it later like this because that's not good. That's not a good idea.
Disturb the painting below.
Yeah.